A Cascade of Bad DMing. So this happened last year on Roll20. I'm just going to put bullet points of what happened. He randomly messaged me asking for new players. Had Dragon Godling characters who were the BBG and his brother, our patron. Mouthing off to our patron, got me a 1d100 psychic damage. No saves or anything. I was lucky he rolled low or my level 3 ranger could have been instantly killed in my first session. Has a party of NPCs who are better than most of the party. Has tournament session where we all fight each other and the NPCs. Just so happens that their ranger is also a monk and can catch arrows. Has all of us fight our patron so he can show off how strong they are. TBH, I thought it was interesting to show off that at our current level we couldn't take on the BBG. BBG shows up every session to taunt us in some way. Both the BBG and patron would occasionally monologue at us and spout exposition for at least 20 minutes a session. Has BBG throw all of us into nightmares where he controls reality / makes time seem infinite to turn us to the dark side. Not to knock against the players, but no one else seemed to realize that the characters have been in these nightmares for years on end. Even when pointed out, I don't care how strong of will you are after 50 years of seeing loved ones die / being tortured, you should do whatever you can to get out. Graphically details children dying. My character breaks down and joins him after seeing his loved ones die over and over for years. In the next session the BBG reveals that I joined him before I could do anything negative to my team / help him. We accidentally destroyed the city our patron ruled, and our patron said fuck everything and turned into a dragon and flew away to destroy the land. Now we had two BBGs who were near omnipotent and near immortal. There's probably more, but those were the biggest one that I remember. Will update when I remember more. Edit. Added monologues / child death. Edit 2. Added how this clusterfuck ended. The time that guy almost made my entire group collapse. I've been a lurker on this sub for a while, and I have a story of my own to tell. It's not as terrible as a lot of the other stories you'll find here, but I think this sub could use a horror story that actually has a good ending. Keep in mind that this happened a few years ago, so my memory is a bit fuzzy on some of the specifics. We've always played our games online, even when we would all play in the same room. Who needs to spend money on maps, dice, and minis when you can just use Tabletop Simulator, which can simulate all of those things. Besides, we wouldn't always be playing in the same room, so it made sense. I was a senior in college, and a Steam friend of mine had only just recently got me into tabletop RPGs, specifically Pathfinder. I enjoyed my first session so much, I found myself repeatedly telling stories about it to my friends. And it didn't take long until they ended up wanting to try it out themselves. So I set myself to learn how to DM. Soon enough, we sat down and started our first game. We had 3 players, who I will refer to by their classes. The first was Hunter. For those who aren't familiar with Pathfinder, the Hunter class is essentially a ranger / druid hybrid, easily the best roller player of the group. The second was Fighter. Fairly quiet, but still a decent roller player. The third was Wizard, the problem player. I feel the need to immediately clarify though that Wizard is not a bad person. In fact, everyone involved is still friends with him. He's just a terrible roller player. The game started off great, with a relaxed memes and dreams atmosphere. There wasn't much focus on any story. I would just provide light plot hooks and or send them on what would essentially amount to a side quest in any other game. But they were having fun. We didn't need a story. We just wanted to hang out together and have a good time, which we surely did. Now, to be clear, I should have known from the start that Wizard would be a difficult player to handle. Before he even became a part of my group, I already knew that he had been kicked out of a 5th edition game run by a mutual friend of ours. From the onset, Wizard was difficult to deal with. He played Pathfinder as if it were a video game. As if the world was his playground and there wouldn't be consequences for anything he did. He never went full murder hobo, but it did take a 30-minute discussion in order to get him to accept the fact that stripping the corpses of your fallen enemies naked and ripping it out was not something that I wanted to have in our game. That, and I once had to tell him, no, it is not considered neutral to kill someone just because they have something that you want. That is very much an illegal action. It was at level 3 that the first major problem occurred. The party had tracked down a bandit idiot as per a bounty, and the three of them, joined by an NPC who was one level above them. I was still new to balancing encounters and wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally kill them all. We're trying to form a plan of what to do. Hunter suggested that Wizard use clarion call, which he had prepared, to amplify Hunter's voice so he could attempt to intimidate the bandits. For some reason beyond me, Wizard refused. Eventually, with no better options, they decide to just barge in. Now, the encounter I had designed to have 6 trained wolves rush the party while an archer on an elevated platform shot arrows down at them. The party, who was level 3 at this point, had previously handled 3 wolves without any issue. So to me, I felt that this would be a fun and balanced encounter for 3 level 3s and 1 level 4, and perhaps it would have been if Wizard had done a single thing to contribute during the entire fight. The only reason the party survived at all, I think, is because of the over-leveled NPC fighting alongside them, though fortunately it wasn't a M6 match in a situation. Hunter and Fighter were just as instrumental as the NPC. Hunter, who had almost lost his animal companion whom he was very attached to, was understandably angry with Wizard for not helping at all. All he had done, after all, is turn invisible and walk towards the only treasure chest in the room. Needless to say, I had a conversation with Wizard about being a better team player after this session. After this, things seemed alright for a while, and I thought that the problem was mostly solved. Despite Wizard attempting to derail what tiny thread we had of a story at almost every turn, I talked with him on multiple occasions asking him to rein himself in a bit, as him constantly going off the beaten path to go do something completely random was hard to handle. There's no possible way I could have prepared for what he might decide to do, as there was no rhyme or reason to it. While the party was walking down the road, he would randomly decide to turn right and head into the woods for no reason. The party was at an orphanage trying to find out something about an NPC, and he decided that instead of going to the tavern with everyone else, that he wanted to sleep in front of the orphanage in his underwear. Needless to say, that didn't work out well for him. I had another talk with him after that about going off the rails, though by this point I should have known talking to him was pointless. Now, I'll be the first to admit that Wizard definitely had his moments, eager to get the party back together so they could do what they wanted to do. We had an utterly hilarious scene where he tricked the simpleton jail guard to let him go, and then things continued. I could go on about more times in which things got rough, but this post is already getting long, and I probably don't even remember the rest of the details well enough to recount them accurately, so I'll skip to the end, though the ending itself is something of a long story. So, knowing that Wizard was of an unpredictable sort who so obviously just wanted to be a murder hobo, I made the terrible decision of giving him what he wanted. I started a second game with all the same people that had the single premise of go kill stuff and do whatever, and it was going to be a pass and torch situation, so we could all play. I made a gunslinger, and Hunter made a druid. Only the 2 of us actually made it to the first Murder Harbor game. Oddly enough, but I still held it, and we had fun. Then came the second Murder Harbor game. Fighter had made a magus, which is halfway between a wizard and a fighter, and Wizard made a sorcerer. Hunter was taking the lead of this game, and we were having fun, though eventually I had to sign off early and eat dinner. I finished and saw a message from Hunter in our Discord server, telling me to get in the group chat as soon as possible. I found out that in the 20 minutes at the most that I had been gone, Wizard went extremely off the rails and killed Hunter's character, who Hunter was already attached to. Now, because I wasn't there, I don't know all the details, but from what I understand, Wizard did what he always did and took things too far, except now he was enabled. Things got darker and darker until Hunter just couldn't take it anymore and attacked Wizard. Obviously Hunter isn't entirely innocent in this situation for being the one who started the PvP, but he refused to actually kill Wizard. But Wizard had no such qualm about the reverse, which he promptly did. Come the next morning, Hunter sent out a message on Discord saying that as much as he'd been enjoying it, he was done with Pathfinder, him being the only good ripper of the group who wasn't a nightmare to handle. I contemplated disbanding the group entirely, but fortunately before I did, Sir Hunter sent out another message saying that he had changed his mind and wanted to continue. Now, by this point, I was done with Wizard's shit, but I wanted to give him one more chance. I cancelled the Murder Harbor game entirely, and we set out to continue our normal game. Except I made it exceedingly clear that I was adopting a zero tolerance policy on PvP. Try to kill another PC and you're out of the group. No negotiation. He later sent me a message saying that he found the rule unacceptable and went off on some short rant that I don't care enough about to remember. My response? Then don't accept it. If a strict no PvP rule is a deal breaker for you, then this isn't the game for you. So, Wizard left, everyone remained friends, and the game continued. In fact, the game continues to this day, and we are having as much fun as ever, and recently welcomed our 6th player to the party. They've made it as far as level 7 now, and have had a lot of great adventures along the way. But yeah, thus concludes my horror story. I felt this sub needed a few more positive endings. I hope you enjoyed reading.